Hey there. You're probably asking yourself, why are you holding your microphone like that? And totally good question. I've just always wanted to hold a mic like this, even if it doesn't make any sense. Completely unrelated, but I'm doing this little bit of an intro bit to shout out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DemonJoe. A little bit of a New Year's resolution of mine is to stream more over there, and we've been doing that, and we've been having a lot of fun. I just want to make this a little bit of an intro piece to where, if you guys don't already follow the channel, link in the description. It's been an absolute blast getting to meet a lot of new people over there over the past few days, from like my community posts telling you guys, whenever I'm streaming. Would absolutely love to see even more new faces over there, and chances are, if you're watching this video, then I'm probably live, at least as soon as it goes up. So yeah, enjoy the video, and I hope to see you guys over on Twitch. Ladies and gentlemen, Bungie just a few days ago released quite the meaty twab. Well, it was like 6 days ago at this point, but inside said meaty twab, they gave us some details on the champion mods that we're going to be seeing at the launch of Witch Queen. And you guys know me, I'm an absolute Grandmaster Goblin inside of D2, so this kind of stuff is very important to me. Especially considering that we've been stuck with anti-barrier auto, and only anti-barrier auto, for the past 5 months this season. Thank God for Arbalest coming to save the day. Anyways, taking a look at the TWAB, Bungie discloses most of the champion mods we'll be seeing next season, and here they are. First up, we have Anti-Barrier Scout Rifle. Yes! Yeah! And Anti-Barrier Combat Bow. Then Bungie says they've made some changes to the reliability of Overload champion mods, so they won't be such a pain to use, and then say that our overloads this season coming will be in the forms of auto rifles and SMGs. Lastly, they end things off by saying the glaive will be a solution to unstop champs, but we're unsure right now if this will be the only weapon type that'll be able to stun that champion. I'm sure we'll also have something like unstop hand cannon maybe, or something completely different that Bungie will reveal later, but today I want to focus on the cold hard facts. So with that said, today I want to break down all of the best legendary weapons to deal with champions next season for you to go ahead and keep an eye out for and perhaps farm in your free time. We have over 16 weapons in today's video, with one for each element in every category and a few honorable mentions sprinkled throughout. If you want a weapon guide to help get you prepared for Witch Queen's champions, then this video is the perfect one for you. Let's jump into this. First up, I want to talk about combat bows for your anti-barrier needs, and for this section I have 5 absolute juicers that I want to go over. First up, let's talk about the best in slot kinetic bow, the Accrued Redemption. Now this bow is going to drop from the first encounter of Garden of Salvation, so really, anybody can get this thing. It comes with the role of Archer's Tempo and Explosive Head, and longtime subscribers of mine are probably tired of hearing this from me about payload perks, but the truth is, they're the best damage perks in the game, and Explosive Head is no different. With perks like Timed Payload, Explosive Payload, or Explosive Head, you're getting just a flat damage boost to every single shot 100% of the time without ever needing to do something prior to activate it. For example, Whispering Slab is a great bow for the kinetic slot and can roll Archer's Vorpal, but Vorpal is a 20% damage buff that you can only take advantage of on bosses or champions. With Explosive Head, you get an 11% to the head and 15% of the body damage buff 100% of the time on all the enemies you fire at, making its overall usability even better. Accrued Redemption is the top of the line kinetic bow in the game, and I can't recommend it enough. Although, if you don't want to do a raid, you can use the one from Europa. That one also has Explosive Head, but it doesn't have Archer's Tempo on it, and seeing as this is going to be an anti-barrier weapon, you want to be firing as fast as possible, so I highly recommend something with Archers instead. Now, moving on, let's talk about another raid combat bow, and unfortunately, unlike Accrued Redemption, this weapon has literally 0 alternatives at the moment, the Solar Tyranny of Heaven. This weapon right here is the only solar legendary bow in the game, and drops from the Last Wish raid. It also shares the same god roll as Accrued Redemption, with Archer's Tempo Explosive Head being up for grabs, so don't sleep on it. There's not much else to say about this thing, so pick it up for the element alone if you plan on running an exotic that isn't Tiku's inside Master content. Up next from Tyranny, we finally have a bow that doesn't come from any raids, and that is the Void Bow Imperial Needle. You can get this bad boy to drop inside Battlegrounds or focus farm it from the Umbral Decoder, and it rolls with, again, Archer's Tempo, and in this case, Frenzy. Frenzy, once procced, will give you a better damage buff than Explosive Head, while also increasing reload speed by a sizable amount, but I'm not exactly sure if that's any good on bows. Anyways, this bow is the only legendary void bow in the game, so just like Tyranny, if you want to run an exotic that isn't Le Monarch and you still want to have void covered, then Imperial Needle will be your buddy. Lastly, for the combat bows, let's talk about an absolute magnificent beast in the form of the Wolf Tone Draw Arc Bow. This weapon comes from Astral Alignment and Umbral Engrams, and actually is a bit more interesting than the other bows as it doesn't just roll with Archer's Tempo and a damage perk. Wolf Tone can of course roll that way if you'd like the perk set Archer's Tempo and Frenzy, but it can also roll with Shoot to Loot and Dragonfly, which if you didn't know, allows you to kill an enemy, and if said enemy drops ammo on their death when you proc Dragonfly, this will also allow you to pick up that ammo from anywhere on the map with that explosion. It's a really cool interaction and can be a clutch way to get a hold of heavy or special ammo from afar inside of really intense situations. Outside of Wolf Tone though, we obviously have the honorable mention of Point of the Stag from the Tower Kiosk, and it's a super easy god roll to go ahead and bag, as well as Arsenic Bite, which is one of the few weapons that can roll double damage perks like Rampage and Explosive Head, but again, I would rather something like Archer's Tempo, especially in the case of an anti-barrier situation. Anyways, that covers every single element of bow and what the best bows are for each slot, so let's go and move on to auto rifles for your overload needs. And you know I can't talk about auto rifles without speaking on the Last Breath. In my humble opinion, the best kinetic auto rifle in the game, the Last Breath is an absolute monster in any content you play. With perk rolls like Demo Adrenaline, Demo Frenzy, or Demo One For All, how could you not love this thing? I mean, I really love killing enemies in Destiny, but you know what I love more? Killing enemies, getting damage buffs, and getting grenades for doing so all at the same time. Last Breath comes from the Cube encounter in Prophecy, and while it may be the most annoying encounter in the dungeon, it's absolutely worth it for a god roll. Up next from the Last Breath, we have a weapon that is quickly becoming my favorite energy auto in the game, and that is the Sorrow's Verse Arc Auto from Crucible. I don't know what it is about this thing, but hot damn, it just feels right to shoot. At first I really wasn't all that crazy about it when the season first launched, but after getting a variety of roles and testing it out in PvE, I quickly came to absolutely adore this weapon. Now unfortunately it does have a massive perk pool, making a god roll pretty annoying to get, but if you can bag 4th times, Feeding Frenzy, Subsistence, or Outlaw in the first column, with Frenzy or One For All in the second, then you're holding on to an absolute gem. Of course, for those that don't want to chance RNG for their entire lives and would like an easier weapon to get for the arc slot, Shadow Price is the old reliable and can get 4th times or Overflow with One For All, and it'll drop from the Nightfall playlist. Now moving on from arc auto rifles, let's segue on over to the void pick of the video, and that's going to be the Gnawing Hunger. This weapon comes from the World Loot Pool, and is honestly the only real void auto that I feel is actually good. I mean, yeah, we have Reckless Oracle from Goss, but the stats on that thing are kind of atrocious, especially the range, and its perks are subpar, so that kind of leaves us with just the Gnawing Hunger. Subsistence and Kill Clip is probably going to be my main recommendation here, as Gnawing Hunger doesn't have all that much going on in the perk department. Fortunately, just like the Ikelos SMG, this weapon feels phenomenal regardless of the perks you're running, but I'd shoot for that role specifically if you plan on rocking this thing in high-end content, which you're watching a Demon Joe video, so you probably plan on using it in high-end content. Now lastly, for the auto rifles, you know I can't talk about autos without mentioning my darling, the Arctic Haze. This solar auto rifle comes from Varix on Europa and makes the perfect auto to rock inside master content. Triple tap or subsistence combined with that 20% damage buff that Vorpal gives is an absolute banger combo, and since autos are yet again going to be a champion mod this coming season, I think it's about time you guys stop sleeping on this beauty, get your ass to Europa, and show it some love. Now moving on from auto rifles, we have the submachine guns, and if I had to be 100% honest with you guys, there really isn't a single submachine gun in this game that I would take over an auto rifle. Considering both these weapon types are overload and auto rifles are just a much safer option that'll get me killed way less in master content, I probably won't ever see myself using an SMG in game, at least for champions. With that said, I still want to recommend to you guys the best of the best for those that might be interested, and what better way to start out than with the king of kinetic SMGs, the Extraordinary Rendition. This weapon is a 750 that comes from Battlegrounds or the Umbral Engrams, and stands tall as the best in slot kinetic choice for SMGs. With perks like Subsistence and Overflow in the first column, with Frenzy and One For All in the second, this weapon should serve you well, assuming you go the SMG route over auto rifles. Now up next we have an Elemental 750, here in the energy slot we have the Arc Ikelos SMG, and honestly this shouldn't be much of a surprise for you. Not only does Ikelos create Warmind cells when paired with armor mods, but it doesn't even need them to begin with because it just feels that damn good to use in general. With perks like Threat Detector and Subsistence alongside Surrounded, Vorpal, or Demo in the final column, it has a pretty strong perk lineup to back up its fantastic feel and stats. It can also roll with the unique Seraph rounds, allowing it to penetrate enemies and allowing the rounds to bounce off of surfaces, so I figured that was worth noting. This weapon drops from the World Loot Pool and is and always has been an absolute gem. Now moving on from Arc, let's talk about a pretty great solar SMG, and that's going to be the Borrow Time from the Gambit playlist. Possibly one of the most in-game friendly SMGs in the game thanks to its perk pool, Borrow Time is honestly a pretty slept on weapon in the game. This, however, is mostly due to it not only being a Gambit exclusive drop, but its massive perk pool on top of that, making a god roll pretty hard to get. However, there are a lot of options within this perk pool, perks like Rangefinder, Fourth Times, Overflow, and Threat Detector in the first column, with Frenzy, Demo, One for All, and Surrounded in the second. This weapon is ridiculously hard to get a god roll of, so I want to point you guys in the direction of an honorable mention, the Death Adder. This weapon drops from the World Loot Pool, and unfortunately with SMGs not being barrier weapons this time around, we can't fully take advantage of Death Adder's strongest perk, Disruption Break. That said though, it's still a reliable SMG if you're in a pinch against solar shields, and it can roll with Feeding Frenzy and Subsistence in the first column, with Dragonfly or maybe Rangefinder to help prevent damage fall off in the second column. Lastly, for the SMGs, we have our Void pick of the video, and of course this is going to go to the Shayura's Wrath. This weapon is found in Trials of Osiris, and is practically just an SMG in auto rifle form thanks to its incredible stats. Although a more PvP-oriented SMG, it still finds its place in the PvE sandbox with a role like Killing Wind Kill Clip, with Killing Wind being your main perk in the first column because there's really not that much else that can really benefit you. Of course, I know not everybody wants to play Trials to get a Void SMG, so honorable mention here goes to Every Waking Moment, which you can farm via Essence on the Moon. It rolls with Subsistence, Rangefinder, and Ambitious Assassin in the first column, with Kill Clip in the second. Much better perks than Shayura's, but I mainly choose Shayura's over Waking Moment due to its Adept variant allowing for Big One spec, and its incredible range stat that's going to keep you out of trouble and getting killed. Now, with submachine guns out of the way, we have our final weapon category for the video, my personal favorites, Anti-Barrier Scout Rifles. So, let's begin. Kicking things off in the kinetic slot, we have the best kinetic scout a person could ask for, the Night Watch. This weapon drops as a god roll from the New Light questline, so literally everybody has gotten this thing at one point or another, and it absolutely trucks champions and master content. This was my best buddy back during Season of the Splicer before the buff, and it absolutely will not leave my side once Witch Queen launches. Now moving on, let's talk about an elemental scout here in the Void category, the literal energy Night Watch, Vouchsafe. Just how Night Watch is the best in slot kinetic scout, Vouchsafe is the best in slot elemental scout. Same fast fire rate, same cracked god roll, in this case rapid and explosive payload, and unlike Night Watch, Vouchsafe is actually farmable via the Blind Well in the Dreaming City. Now Night Watch, although rolling with Overflow and Explosive from the New Light quest, it can get a better roll of rapid and explosive like Vouchsafe, but since it's a world loot weapon, it can be pretty hard to get the god roll that you want, so Vouchsafe on the other hand can be grinded out in the Blind Well and is 100% worth your time to do so. Now up next from Vouchsafe, we have a scout that is criminally underrated, and that is the Vision of Confluence from Vault of Glass. This weapon can get an Adept variant, has fantastic perks, and is also one of the only weapons that rolls Wellspring in the first column, allowing it to be paired with a damage perk, which I think is pretty neat. Looking at the perks as a whole, we have Wellspring and Rewind rounds in the first column, with Firefly, Kill Clip, Disruption Break, and Frenzy in the second. This also stands as one of the best feeling scouts in the game in my opinion, and also has one of the cleanest sights in the game. I absolutely love it. Now lastly for the video, we have our final pick, and I'm going to be 100% real with you guys. I think I'm finally done sleeping on the scout rifle. Instead of Eternal Blazon, I'm going to recommend Contingency Plan for the Arc Scout of the video. This weapon comes from the World Loot Pool and is a part of the rare rapid fire frame, meaning it intrinsically is fully automatic. It rolls with Subsistence or Outlaw in the first column, with Frenzy, Kill Clip, and One for All in the second. Finally gonna admit that I like this thing more than Eternal Blazon, so pick this bad boy up from the World Loot Pool if you haven't already, as it's a damn fine scout rifle once you get the right roll. With all that said though, that's gonna do it for today's video. I know this video is somewhat late, but I hope it was helpful to those of you guys that have been spending your time preparing for Witch Queen. I tried to make this video as best as I could, going over every single weapon category that is going to have a champion mod, and going over every single element for said category, giving you guys basically the top of the line picks, how to get those picks, and what those god rolls for those picks are. I try my best to give out the best information possible, while also being pretty entertaining, and I hope I accomplished that today. It's 2 in the morning at the time that I'm recording this, and I still have to get all this edited before bed, so I'm gonna make this quick. I freaking love you guys so much, I honestly do. Thank you so much for the support on the videos and in the live streams, as I wouldn't be able to do what I do each and every day without each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end and supporting the content, and I'll see you guys next time.